Imagine walking into a museum and seeing an artifact that belongs to your ancestors, something stolen from your homeland decades or even centuries ago. How would it feel to see a piece of your history behind glass labeled as a mere exhibit in a foreign country? In 2023, an elderly woman stood before a glass case in an American museum, gazing at a small stone statue. To most visitors, it was just another artifact, but to her, it was a piece of her family's history, taken from her homeland during wartime. This statue, looted from an ancient Cambodian temple, was finally on its way back home. For years, museums around the world have housed artifacts taken from other nations during war, colonization, and illicit trade. But now, a shift is happening. Countries and communities are demanding the return of their lost cultural heritage, and museums are starting to comply. But why now? And what challenges remain? A legacy of looting. How did these artifacts end up in museums? For centuries, powerful empires and colonial rulers took treasures from the lands they conquered. Some artifacts were plundered by soldiers, while others were taken under the guise of scientific study or preservation. In many cases, local communities had no say in the fate of their own heritage. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, European and American collectors acquired vast amounts of cultural treasures, often through questionable means. Museums, eager to expand their collections, accepted these artifacts without much scrutiny. This has left many nations, especially those in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East, demanding justice. Emotional homecomings, when artifacts return. In recent years, several significant artifacts have been repatriated, marking emotional moments of historical justice. The Parthenon marbles, Greece. For over 200 years, Greece has been asking for the return of these ancient sculptures taken by Lord Elgin in the early 19th century and displayed in the British Museum. The debate over their return remains unresolved. Benin bronzes, Nigeria. In 2022, Germany agreed to return over 1,100 Benin bronzes, looted by British forces in 1897. The artifacts, which hold deep cultural and religious significance, had been scattered across European and American museums. Ancient Egyptian artifacts. Egypt has successfully reclaimed several looted items, including a golden sarcophagus that was illegally smuggled and later displayed in a U.S. museum before its true origins were revealed. Each return represents more than just an object coming home. It's a restoration of identity, history, and dignity for the affected communities. Chapter 4. Why are some museums hesitant? Despite growing pressure, some major museums resist returning artifacts. Their arguments include preservation, concerns. Some museums claim that they provide better protection for artifacts than their countries of origin, especially if those nations face political instability or lack proper conservation facilities. Legal and ownership issues. Many artifacts were acquired during times when international laws on cultural heritage were unclear or non-existent. Some museums argue that they obtained artifacts legally and should not be forced to return them. Fear of setting a precedent. If one museum returns an artifact, will it open the door for thousands of other claims? Some institutions worry that repatriation could empty their collections. Despite these concerns, the movement for restitution is growing stronger, and museums are finding ways to navigate these complex issues. The future of cultural justice. The return of stolen artifacts is more than just a legal or ethical matter. It's about acknowledging past injustices and giving cultures the right to tell their own stories. As technology advances, nations can now track their stolen heritage more effectively and push for its return. But will all looted artifacts ever be returned? Or will museums and institutions continue to hold on to these treasures under the claim of preservation? The battle for cultural justice is far from over, and the question remains: who truly owns history?